my channel. So tonight I am going to be doing a tag. This is the Louisa May Alcott tag. This is an original tag that was created by Kelly from Kelly Reads a Lot. It has some really sweet questions on it. I'm really excited to do this one with you guys. So let's get right into these very thoughtful questions. Number 1 says, in Little Women, you have an example of sisters of different personalities and dreams. Name another book with sisters of different personalities and dreams. Now, I'm thinking of a book that isn't sisters, but it is cousins, and they're very close cousins. And this book is called The Edge of Time by Lula Grace Erdman, I think is what her name is. Let me look. Oh yeah, I did good. Lula Grace Erdman, okay? So I don't have a dust cover for this one. My mother gave this to me. She said it's a beautiful story. So I read it several years ago. And it really was a special book. One of the things I really loved about it was it's kind of the kind of story that a mother would use to kind of caution a daughter about marriage. Kind of things that would make or break a marriage, right? And my mom first gave this book to me at 27, and I think that if I would have read it almost 20 years ago when she gave it to me, I don't think I would have grasped the concepts in this. So I feel like even though I held on to it for almost 20 years, Mom, I feel like I read it at just the right time. I think it was about 3 years ago, so I would have been 43. And I had had enough marriage life, right, about 25 years at that point, just enough experiences to really get everything that this book is, the depth of the feelings that you go through in a long-term marriage, the insecurities and the loyalty and just the depth of marriage. The author was super wise. So it starts out with a young couple who actually leave Missouri to homestead in Texas. All the odds are against them. It's a really hard life, and the female main character is under the impression that her husband would have rather have married her cousin. Her cousin is kind of like, you know, city girl, beautiful, classy, refined, and then this girl, Bethany, I think is her name, is just kind of like regular. But she loves her husband with all her heart, and she just has a lot of insecurities on how he feels about her. I really enjoyed reading about these homesteaders and the community that kind of forms, the challenges they face. If I remember right, I think it's based on the community that ends up becoming Amarillo, Texas. So shortly after reading that, I actually did travel through Amarillo, and that was kind of a cool experience. There was one part in this book that talks about fighting fire with a cow carcass. And I asked my online friends, I didn't know, like, is that a Southern thing? Because I've been here for 13 years, but originally from Oregon. And that just sounded so weird to me. Nobody had ever heard of that before. So if you have any information on fighting a fire with a cow carcass, I'd love to hear about it. But anyway, that's my recommendation for that book. The Edge of Time, Lula Grace Erdman. All right, prompt number 2 says, in 8 Cousins, Rose is an orphan whose uncle becomes a father figure. Name another book where a character becomes a father figure. For that one, I chose Beyond the Bright Sea by Lauren Wolk. So this tells a story of a girl that's on an island off of New York, I think. Her name is Crow, and the story takes place during a time of change in America's history, but I don't know exactly when, and I don't know if the book actually explains exactly when that is, but it seems that the people on this island are a little more primitive or old-fashioned than the people on the mainland. But I don't really know why I get that feeling. But anyway, so this girl Crow, she's being raised on this island by a few members of her community, but specifically a man who is a father figure to her. She was adopted as an orphan, and then as a young teen, she kind of starts to wonder about her origins. And what I really liked about this story is Crow's sense of identity. She is not on a search for identity. It's not like when she finds her birth family, she will now be whole and know who she is and all those things. She's just on a search for information because she already knows who she is. I love that. This is a middle grade book. I think it has a really affirming message for kids. And I find that what she finds out further cements her good character rather than changing her character. I just really loved this book. It's one of the first middle grades that I read like kind of in this era of my life, right? That I wasn't reading just like with my kids or whatever, just something that I picked up on my own. I just was pleasantly surprised. All right, prompt number 3 is, Under the Lilacs is a wonderful found family story about a little boy who loses his dad and experiences the found family trope. Name another book with a found family trope. For that one, I am choosing a book by an indie author that I know personally. This is Rise Above by Peg Willis. These little children on the front cover are my own children from 12 or 13 years ago. This is Sela, who is now almost 20, and this is Liam, who just turned 16. And they actually took that photo for Peg for her book cover because they are modeling as the young boy and girl in her story. Now, this story centers around the true story of Hebner, Oregon, my hometown, the town that I was born in, where everybody on my mother's side of the family is from, this little town in Eastern Oregon that has stayed at population 1,500 for like over 100 years. It's odd, I don't know. If you look at Wikipedia, it's just kind of always been that population. It's interesting. But in 1903 in July, a flash flood came and took out like a third of the town's structures. It killed a fourth of the population. It really messed up this little town. It is still the most tragic natural disaster on record in Oregon. And at the time of the writing of this book anyway, it was the second deadliest flash flood in the history of the US. This story recreates what Peg was able to find from the pretty well-documented history of the flood, and it recreates that in a fictional story where there is this found family here, and just kind of what they go through to try to recover and to try to stabilize. I spent a lot of time with the author of this book as she was going through the writing process and sort of dreaming, planning, thinking about her characters and what they would look like and what they would wear. And she even made this little dress for Sela to wear. And it was just a very fun experience to walk through that process with her. She is in her elderly years at this point, and so just kind of a little role model for me. I did enjoy her story. She's kind of known in the area as a historian and teacher, and it was just fun to read about all of these people and places and events that I was very familiar with in my own little hometown. So if you are interested in supporting an indie author, Peg is still selling these online, probably on Amazon, and you guys should check her out. All right, prompt number 4 says, The Inheritance is a novel that Louisa May Alcott wrote when she was very young. Name another book with a very young author and or a premiere novel. So the only author I could think of at the time was Mary Shelley, who wrote her first book, Frankenstein, at 19. And so then I went online and tried to kind of do a search of like young authors that I have read. And I hadn't read really any of the other youngish authors, nobody younger than Mary Shelley. So that's my answer. Mary Shelley, 19, Frankenstein. I think that might be kind of a commonly known bit of trivia, but if you didn't know that, there you go. Now you know. Number 5, A Long Fatal Love Chase was an experimental foray into writing a romantic thriller for Louisa. Name a suspense or thriller that you enjoy. I haven't read a lot of suspense or thriller books, but one classic suspense/thriller that I really enjoyed was A Sicilian Romance by Anne Radcliffe. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I loved this, and I think that it's probably more that I was on the heels of reading Fanny Burney, who I did not enjoy so much. And I was just like, wow, this is way better. But The Sicilian Romance is very suspenseful. It does have a mystery. It's a little bit gothic-y, and it keeps your attention. It's not extremely sappy or sentimental. It's definitely sensational, but in a way that is fun. I really enjoyed A Sicilian Romance a lot. I can't wait to read more from Anne Radcliffe, so that's my recommendation. I think it's a good one. You should check it out. Number 6, Jack and Jill is a great book about two friends who recover from an accident together and learn lots of lessons along the way, but it comes off a little preachy. What's another book that comes off preachy? That is hands down Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. I cannot think of a book that is more that is more preachy than Agnes Grey, and I've read it twice, and I really am trying to like it. Anne kind of is my newest favorite Bronte after reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, but I'm having a hard time giving her a lot of respect for Agnes Grey because it just seems so negative and preachy to me. Maybe if I go back and read through it again now that I've read Tenet, I might enjoy it more, but it's kind of not likely. Maybe it's just not my season for that one. And then the last prompt is this. An Old-Fashioned Girl is about a young lady with a strong moral compass. Name another book with a character with a strong moral compass. And, like I just mentioned, that would be The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I think that this is a fantastic example of a woman who makes some hard decisions for her family, and does so in a way that honors herself, but also honors God. She honors her self-esteem alongside honoring God. And the way that Anne wrote this, I don't see anything necessarily morally wrong with it. So the story tells about a woman who is in a marriage with a man who is very emotionally abusive. I can't remember if he's physically abusive or not, but he's definitely full of himself, very selfish, very arrogant, narcissistic sort of person, and he treats her badly. And they have a son, and it gets to the point where she just really does need to leave him for the sake of her son, but also herself, and just peace in her life, right? But she does so without divorcing, without running his name into the ground, without, really anyone knowing outside of their own tiny circle that she's even married and that she's even left a husband. She's very quiet about it, and she just separates herself from the situation without running him into the ground. And I just think that isn't always the best in every situation, but it was really great in her situation. Like, she found a way to make this work, and to she didn't believe in divorce, she didn't like the idea, and so she just found a way to make it work that she could be comfortable with and feel like she was honoring God, but also keep herself and her son safe. And I just thought it was so good. I really, really, really loved it. And I think that her, some of the things that happen towards the end of the story and some of the choices that she makes are just so wonderful examples of good character. Like, I don't know, I don't want to tell you all the spoilers, right? But I just really admired the character of the main character in Tenet, which I can't remember her name right now. So that's a good recommendation, I think, of someone who really displayed a good moral character throughout consistently. And it also wasn't super preachy. Like, this woman could now and then get a little bit preachy, but she wasn't like consistently all the time ridiculously annoyingly preachy like Agnes Grey. Tenant of Wildfell Hall, if you haven't read it yet, maybe check it out. So that's that tag wrapped up. I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Kelly, for tagging me and putting together such fun and thoughtful questions. I'm not sure yet who has been tagged in this, and so I will go and see, and if I can think of some people who haven't been tagged yet, I will tag you guys in the description box below. But if you have not yet done this tag and you are not tagged, feel free to do so and make sure and tag me in it so I can come and watch your video. Hope everybody's doing great. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.